actually, I was thinking about, what have we done, or what have I done professionally that really speaks about God. And I was reminded of a short film we showed once that was made by Michael Verhoeven. And it was a 5-minute filmed interview with a writer who told the joke Mrs. Goldberg and the Almighty God. Do you know this joke? So Mrs. Goldberg is a Holocaust survivor. She has endured a life of incredible suffering, made it to America, managed to rebuild her life, a very pious woman. She has children and grandchildren, and towards the end of her life, as all good Jews do, she moves down to Florida by the water. And she's lucky enough to have the greatest joy in her life. Her grandchildren come in to visit her, including the youngest, a little baby boy. They're sitting on the beach when suddenly a giant wave comes and washes the boy away. And Mrs. Goldberg raises her fist to the heavens and says, God, I have endured so much in this life. I have kept my faith with you. I have been pious. I have served the community. How can you do this to me? Please, if there is any justice in this world, you will bring back my grandson. At that moment, a giant wave comes and deposits the child perfectly back on the shore. No harm, no foul. Mrs. Goldberg looks at the child, then looks up to the heavens and says, he had a hat. I love that joke. Because I think, in part because it shows what we like to think about God in some measure, an omnipotent force that can make anything happen, but at the same time, a deeply flawed force that allows great suffering, and even when it's not allowing great suffering, allows these kind of minor annoyances, can you call them? You forgot the hat. A perfect God would remember the hat. So it makes it that much harder to believe in an infallible God. So I've always loved that joke, I think, for that reason. And I think it kind of matches up to my own ambivalent feelings about God, which is so necessary to believe in and so hard to figure out exactly how you believe in that God. And I don't know that I could probably talk around it in circles for hours and hours, but I don't know that I'd get much closer to it than Mrs. Goldberg. I've spent the last 15 years of my life working here at the J on Jewish culture, mostly in film, and then broader cultural things in Theater J as a playwright. And except for the play I wrote back in 2002, I've spent most of my professional time not thinking too much about God. I really see God's role as somewhat being divorced from what I do in my day-to-day work, and something I hadn't really realized until I was asked to sit down and do this kind of interview.